we have to find a way to understand it correctly in a way that terrestrial and celestial truth can build on top of it. Like, the purpose of our faith is not to tear down the world and build something up separate from it or different from it. We're saying there's worldly truths, we love them. Now let's bring the priesthood order and righteousness, and we can put it on top of that. And we're going to take that scientific truth, and we're going to magnify it, and we're going to put it to use for godly purposes, for the progression of the kingdom of God, for charity, for good works, right? For all of these attributes of God that we can use it for. And I think that's a way that I've come to understand this concept of spherical truth in a way that really makes the world relevant to the priesthood order and the celestial kingdom, the kingdom of God on the earth, I should say, that we're trying to build.
This is exactly what Christ did when he said he came not to destroy the law, but to fulfill. Well, what law was he fulfilling? The lower law, right? He was fulfilling the law of Moses. He didn't come to get rid of or destroy it because it wasn't a real law. It was, but he came to fulfill it and then add a higher law to it. And that's exactly what you're saying here. These spheres of truth, they're not necessarily at odds, but some truth is meant to be built upon. It's meant to be added to. And that's very clearly what Christ, insinuates and says that he is doing by coming and doing all that he did. It wasn't meant to destroy the law, but actually to just fulfill it and now add a higher law on top of that. And I wanted to go back real quick to something we were talking about earlier when you were mentioning how Christ's baptism probably not, it seems clear it was not the same type of baptism that we experience in the church today. And all of the context and surrounding evidence seems to show that and highlight that he was quite literally now being ordained as high priest and king. It really makes me wonder, and I was thinking about this earlier, and I forgot to say something about it. I'm hypothesizing here, but you think now about the hatred and the insecurity that the priests and the scribes and the Pharisees had in that day of who Christ was. Because part of me feels like, and I could totally be wrong about this, and that's okay. Part of me feels like if some of them didn't know enough to look at the circumstances, to look at the situation and say, this man might actually have a rightful claim to be the high priest and the king over Israel. And what does that mean for me? It means loss of influence and power and everything that the adversary stands for, right? That was ultimately the internal feelings that they were having. And when we talk about the plainness and the directness of what exactly Christ was going through, and this wasn't something magical or anything like that, it does make me wonder if others recognize that as well.
Hit that like button, leave us a comment, subscribe to the channel. We really appreciate it.
They may seem like little things, but liking, commenting, it helps the algorithm push our content out to more people. So it's our small way of sharing the gospel in a social media age.